Hey, what is going on, guys, and welcome to the commentary video for my episode 3 review. First of all, I just want to apologize. I really should have had this up like weeks ago because the episode 3 review has been up for several months. Well, not several months, about one or 2 months now, I think. Time flies. But I've been absolutely inundated with editing work and all sorts of things, and it's the work I'm getting is appreciated because I'm actually able to get by for once. But yeah, it's a lot of work, balancing YouTube and with this new editing gig I have, and it's but yeah, I really should prioritize you guys a bit more on Patreon, because without you guys on Patreon, then wow, I don't think I'd be able to do YouTube at all. So yeah, to the episode 3 review commentary for today. I'm actually quite pleased with how the review turned out. The Raiders review was problematic because I sort of prioritized a bit too much on jokes where I wasn't actually doing enough reviewing. And you guys were pointing that out to me actually in the last review. So I went out of my way in the episode 3 review to make it a bit more critical, a bit more analytical, and I think that paid off. A lot of you guys seem to think I got that balance of comedy and reviewing pretty spot on with this one. So yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and watch the episode 3 review, add my thoughts as I go on, and hopefully you guys can get a bit of insight into what went into creating it. So without further ado, let's actually begin this thing. So immediately I have to talk about this Life of Brian skit that I opened the review with. The opening shot that you just saw where it said the People's Front of Jediah, which is obviously a pun on the People's Front of Judea rather than Life of Brian. And it was in the I was trying to think of a good name for this group of losers who sort of come together to hate on the prequels. And I went ahead on Facebook and I asked you guys, like, what's a good name for this group? And then one of you guys responded, the People's Front of Jediah. And I was like, wow, that's perfect, because what was crazy about it was because I didn't actually tell anybody it was a Life of Brian reference. And then when this guy responded with that, I was like, okay, that is too good a response. It's scary. So I was like, yeah, I've got to use that. And yeah, also you guys do show up a little bit later on in the review as well. But I'll get to that when I get to it. But thank you all for your responses. I got so friggin' many of them as well. But again, I'll talk about it later. And gotta get my coffee. It's friggin' December right now in the UK, and it is freezing. Hence why I'm wearing the hat. Oh, about this opening skit actually. I was a bit disappointed with it because I filmed the green screen things in my garage, but the problem with it is that I get a lot of echo in there, and the sound quality is not very good. Also, my microphone is really old. Not this microphone, rather, but the one that I attached to my camera. I've got it laid down there. Actually, I'll go ahead and quickly show you it. It's this my microphone I use right now. It's like this Rode video microphone, but it's so old and it's a bit poo, and it's also a bit, it's like the hinge on it's broken as well, and yeah, it's a bit crap. A little fourth wall joke there. I always do. I like to do that. I did it in the episode 2 review actually, when I did that little skit with Belated Media. But I love to sort of like messing around with the fourth wall. I'm a big sucker of fourth wall jokes. Man, I actually had a Donald Trump joke later on in the review as well, but I was like, I should probably stick to one Donald Trump joke per review. Also, I actually got a lot of comments from people saying that they kind of thought my Trump impression was pretty funny. I was like, I was surprised, because I'm not very good at impressions, and it just the way to do a Trump impression is to always make sure you do this with your fingers, like point out the bottom of your teeth like this, and then always end every sentence with "believe me." And it's such a fun impression to do, because like when Trump actually won the presidency, like a sick, demented version of myself actually wanted him to win because of all the comedic possibilities that there would be because of it. And like all comedians are talking about Trump, so yeah. Apart from the South Park guys, actually, they don't really capitalize on it as much as I thought they would. Oh, about that strategy guide joke. I actually, if you look at it closely, it's actually just some random book I had. But I wanted to do this thing where, because there was a Star Wars Episode 3 video game released for PS2, and I wanted to sort of like have the strategy guide for that in hand to really really authenticate the joke. And I found it on eBay for like £5 or something like that. And I'm like, do I really want to spend £5 for like a freaking 2-second joke? Also, you know, like, because these reviews have like literally no budget, like at all. It's only like once in a blue moon I might like buy a prop or whatever, or upgrade equipment as well. Like this microphone is actually not it's been around for about a couple years now. So yeah, there was that joke there where I sort of like paused for a long time, and apparently that made quite a few people laugh as well. Chancellor Palpatine, Sith Lords are a speciality. It's a bit weird because, I mean, that's not actually how you pronounce that word. It's specialty, not speciality. That was weird with the music of that, because I found the music on a fluke. Originally, it was my plan to just have like a simple compilation of the times where Anakin and Obi-Wan get their asses handed to them by Sith. But I found this like piece of music that just sort of fits so perfectly, and I was like, you know, I gotta use that. You know, about the episode 3 review, actually, I think overall, you know, with the Raiders review, I was making it a bit more comedic and not really critical, but with this one, I am being a lot more critical, and I think that led a lot of people to believe I can't quite hate episode 3, but I really don't. I actually do think it is the best of the prequels, with but, you know, there's just so much wrong with it and so much to talk about. But, you know, it's one of those movies where the good outweighs the bad. It's only with episode 2 that I think the bad outweighs the good. So, you know, it depends how you feel. This is always what bothered me this a little bit. That little bit where I have Anakin sort of falling over, that was like the last thing I edited in the review. Originally, I hadn't had that planned, but it's just one of those improvised edits. You know, the joke needs a little something more, and I did that little fall over thing. A lot of roto work, but you know, it was worth it. I think it was pretty funny. I've always been thinking about what to do with Palpatine's infamous "do it" line. Speaking of Palpatine, though, I think a lot of people kind of like, you know, my Donald Trump impression. A lot of people seem to kind of like my Palpatine impression as well, because towards the end of the review, there's a skit where I dress up as Palpatine, and that seemed to go down really, really well. I really got to cut down on the Family Guy. I think like every single review I've uploaded, I've used a Family Guy or a Simpsons clip somewhere. Like one of you guys actually sent me a message, and he had this sort of like whole list of like an unusual suspect drinking game where he listed all the things that you see a lot in my reviews, and then take a drink every time that happens. Like every time I punch Hedwig, take a drink. Every time I use a Simpsons or Family Guy clip, take a drink. I'm gonna have to share that on Twitter or something, because it really made me laugh. Oh, and then there you go, Simpsons clip as well. You know, okay, I'm saying it right now. With the next review, I'm going to try my best not to use a single Simpsons or Family Guy clip. I'm going to try my best. About Grievous, yeah, he really is like such a squandered character. Because again, I talk about this in the review, but you know, he was so damn cool in Clone Wars. You know, he was such a badass, and then they made him just such into an absolute joke. I mean, was he the same as he was in episode 3 as he was in the Clone Wars? He could have been like up there with Vader as like one of the best villains in Star Wars, but they completely screwed it up. Actually, I got a lot of comments of people saying with the episode 3 review, you know, when it wasn't out yet, a lot of people were saying, "Oh, I hope you're easy on Grievous," and I'm like, really? It's like Grievous is terrible. I mean, in episode 3, in Clone Wars he's amazing, but in episode 3 he's awful. Oh, this was such a fun review when I was finding this out. I think it was on Reddit actually. I saw somebody share this piece of information that they actually called that Jedi Shaggy. That's just friggin' brilliant. I like that little touch I do where I sort of put the Grievous's shadow in there, and then I do that thing where I look up at him. I was quite pleased with how that turned out. I'm glad the prequels, I've done all the prequel reviews over now because I was running out of different words to friggin' describe Ki-Adi-Mundi's friggin' cockhead. That the 3PO smoking commercial, that was, I found out about that through Nostalgia Critics PSA video, which is one of my all-time favorite Nostalgia Critic videos, by the way. Just type, if you want to laugh, type Nostalgia Critic PSA into YouTube and watch that old video we did, because it's just so freaking funny. There was actually a deleted scene thing I cut out there. And I think that a few of you guys actually pointed out to me that the review didn't exactly flow very well sometimes, because you could just sort of tell I deleted something there. But, you know, that's the problem with these reviews. It's tough to delete scenes from them because, you know, you kind of lose the flow if you do that. But I tried to sort of remove anything that I don't think is that funny or that interesting. Oh, sorry, I must apologize. I have a really bad gas at the moment. It's because I'm not sitting up straight. That's probably why. Yeah, it's my freaking office chair. I'm leaning down in it right now, but it's like it won't go up automatically. I try to lean back and it goes whoa. Oh, about the airplane reference there. It's just like, it's probably the first joke I thought of with this, with the review. It's one of my all-time favorite comedies. It's probably everyone's. It's one of the all-time classics. Oh, and yeah, about this bit where I use that same clip in my Home Alone 3 review, but I saw them approaching this like watchtower, and I'm like, how can I not use that again? You know, it's too perfect. I mean, the only downside with it is that it's daytime in episode 3, whereas in that scene from Airplane, it's nighttime, so they didn't exactly mesh perfectly. But yeah, you know, I had to use it. The dialogue in the prequels, especially in episode 3, it's so bad, but it's almost like to the point where it's so bad it's good almost. Like I think what it is that the lines are really, really badly written, but the actors really, you know, elevate them to meme potential. Like if you go to the subreddit like prequel memes, it's hilarious what those guys do. Oh, and there with the Will and Grace reference as well. I used to watch that religiously growing up, and I was quite pleased when it came back recently.
They're planning on making a Christmas special out of the prequels.
That would be horrifying. I like doing these like bits where I sort of just riff the movie for a little bit. I like to do more of those. Because again, it's like you get a joke like that really, really quickly. There's not much build up to it. It's just like punchline immediately, and then you get like a quick laugh, and helps the pacing of the review, I think, a bit. Yeah, the name for him. Yeah, that's so weird, that, isn't it? Like I actually only just noticed that when I was watching it, where in the background there's these like female droids with like big boobs, and I'm like, why are they designed like that? Like clearly it must be sex bots. I mean, like, why would you design a robot like that? What is the purpose of a robot to be designed like that? I must admit though, this bit wasn't exactly the most original joke, because I actually saw like people making compilation videos of dirty Star Wars lines before, but I've not heard anyone saying that, speaking about the Hondo line when he's like, my big purple friend. I have such a dirty mind. You really have to stretch your mind with these. It's possible they came through the south entrance. Think about it. That Crass gets him out of here. Now, fuck off. I always wanted to use that clip somehow. Either the clip of just Brian from Life of Brian saying, "Now, fuck off." I've always wanted to use that clip somehow, and I was like, yeah, found a good place to use it. About the bit where they're on the balcony, is like, I couldn't really think of anything else to do, because in the episode 2 review I already talked so much about how cringy their dialogue is. So, you know, you see them talking cringy dialogue again and you're like, well, how can you do anything with that? You know, how can you make that funny still? I almost cut that joke out because there wasn't really much of a punchline to it. You know, this is, it's like, it's gonna land on him. Yeah, it's gonna land on me. Yeah, there wasn't really much of a twist to the joke, but you know, I just always love doing the green screen jokes, and you guys seem to really like those too. But again, I'm not 100% perfect at them. If there's a YouTube channel called Pistol Shrimps that do them far better than I do. Though it would help because those guys have got like a massive blue screen studio, whereas I just got like some crappy wrinkly green screen in my garage. There was another bit actually where I a deleted scene where I green screen myself where Windu is, where I repeat the lines he said in Pulp Fiction. It's like where I just say, "What does Master Yoda look like?" Again, if you're a patron, just go watch my deleted scenes and you'll see it. But I just didn't think it was that funny, so hence why I cut it. So I just obviously just showed the scene from Pulp Fiction instead. You know, you see shots like this in episode 3, and you think to yourself, like, yeah, everything is shot on a blue screen, but the cinematography is actually pretty decent. Just such a shame that it's just all shot in a studio. I mean, a few guys were like commenting and saying, well, you know, it's the Jedi Temple, it's not a public hallway. But, you know, they specifically decide not to have all Jedi know about it. So, I don't know, it seems to me like it was a bit silly to talk about it in a place where literally well, not literally anybody, but some people could hear. And again, Palpatine probably has cameras in the Jedi Temple. You know, this is like a scene that's been absolutely memed to death as well. And it's a bit tricky sort of talking about these scenes because you kind of expected to make something really, really funny out of it, but I'm more just sort of talking more critically about it. And a lot of people, I mean, are talking about this point I make up where he talks about this Sith power to stop people from dying, and well, that's a bit pointless because Sith don't care about others, so why would they need that power? But a lot of people have been saying, well, maybe Palpatine was just lying about this power, which, you know, to sway Anakin to the dark side. And yeah, I agree that might have been what he was doing. But it's up to the debate. I don't know whether he was lying about this power or not, whether it was actually a legitimate power Plagueis had, or whether he was just lying about it in order to get Anakin on his side. And that's completely natural, yeah. Oh, about this bit where I green screen myself, where I do the creepy head turd thing. I have a Discord page now, and I think one of you guys on the page said shared this like GIF where, you know, on YouTube where if you hover your mouse over a thumbnail, and then you get like a short little preview from the video. If you do that on my episode 3 review, you'll see that the preview is actually me doing that creepy head turn. Like, go try, go on YouTube right now and then do the preview thing on my episode 3 review, and that's the little preview, me doing that. It's the funniest thing. It's like absolutely perfect for the best pattern to have that. Although that must be a bit disconcerting for new viewers. Ooh, Star Wars Episode 3 review. I'll have a preview. What's this about? Creepy head turn. Oh, well, I think I'll pass. I did actually forget to mention this about where the reason why they don't send that many Jedi is because they thought it was a wild goose chase. There was a chance that they thought, well, you know, maybe Grievous isn't actually on overpower, but as it turns out, he was. So. And even so, like, even if it was a wild goose chase, if you have, like, even a remote chance to kill the guy who's leading the freaking war, then still, why the hell would you send just one Jedi? Like, I don't understand why they didn't have Anakin go with him. I mean, they sent Anakin with him to save Palpatine, but he goes to get Grievous and he doesn't have Anakin with him. I mean, obviously, they just needed an excuse to separate the two so they could move the plot along, but yeah, it just makes no sense. Maybe I should like GIF this bit. The rotor brushing work, I think, could have been a bit better there. If you go watch the scene again, you look at like the top right of Obi-Wan's head. Oh, this is the right to your there's like a little bit of wavy on the side of his head there, and it didn't look quite right. But it's so fun to sort of play around with that, where I just there's another one where I rotor brush characters out and I put them into other scenes. It's just so fun what you can do with it. And I want to do another one of those this Christmas, actually. You know, with the video I did where I put Will Smith into the Matrix. Yeah, I want to do that again for Arnold Schwarzenegger and put him in Die Hard, because I talked about in my Die Hard review where Arnold Schwarzenegger was almost cast as John McClane, because it was originally going to be a sequel to Commando. This is the thing about the prequels in general, is that they don't really have much in the way of... They don't use their force powers nearly as much as they do. Like in episode 1 rather, when they encounter the destroyer droids, you know, they do the force speed thing. And I'm like, well, there's just so many other instances where that could have come in handy, but they never use it again. And I'm like, ugh. And all they ever do for force powers mostly is just sort of force push, and even then they don't do that nearly as often as they should do. I think that what really tied that joke together was Yoda sighing at the end. Like, I call those things clip agreements, you know, where I make a point and then I show like a clip of a character sort of kind of agreeing with me, and it sort of like ends the joke better, and then it makes the review flow a bit better, I think. Yeah.
For example, Elon Musk and Al Gore are dark side supporters. As it turns out, Sith lightning is a surprisingly viable green energy source.
Kind of wonder if any Sith have ever done that, where they use Sith lightning to power something. You know, this is actually something about the lack of budget I have, where, you know, he has like a proper robe on, and then I'm just using my dressing gown to look at my best like Palpatine. I would like a proper costume prop. There you are, guys. That took so long to put together. Like, I got so many friggin' responses so quickly, and I was overwhelmed by it. Thank you all so much for responding, by the way. But yeah, it took absolutely forever to do. And you know, when you're editing them, there's like freaking 60 friggin' layers in editing, and my PC was going in at like a second. It was so slow to sort of put it all together. And what I had to do was I had to sort of like put 20 of you together at once, export that, put that back into Premiere Pro, and then go on from there and do another 20, and then put those two shots together. And whew, that was like a full day's work, was that, for that one bloody 2-second joke. But it was so fun to sort of incorporate you guys into the review somehow. And I definitely want to do something like that again. I feel you guys were like, "Oh, I missed out," because that did suck. Because I really wanted to incorporate you as many of you guys as you can, but I simply had to refuse some entries because I got so friggin' many entries so quickly, and I felt really bad about it.
What is this?
What is it with this council and their inability to send the right number of Jedi for a given task?
This is another bit. I got a lot of comments from people saying, well, it makes sense that they only sent 3 Jedi because those were like the only Jedi Masters left on Coruscant. I think a lot of you guys are saying, and you know, but I responded, you know, there's still like a lot of Jedi left at the Jedi Temple. I mean, obviously not fully trained Jedi, but I think that should have offered a bit more backup support than just 3 Jedi to take on the Sith Lord. But I probably wouldn't have a problem with this if it wasn't for this bit where the freaking response times of these guys is just ridiculous. And I point this out where I just go, duh, and just have, oh, this annoys me so much in this part of the, the movie.
Luckily, Windu seems to fare better, thanks to Tom Billy, as he overcomes Sidious and his fantastic facial expressions.
I've always liked doing this with the reviews now, where I like try and like find the dumbest dirt face for the thumbnail. Door. I did that in my Spider-Man 1 review actually as well. Just gotta work in a derp face somehow. They just crack me up. Actually, one of you guys commented saying that my Palpatine impression is sounding a bit like Boris Johnson. he's another character that is so much fun to imitate. This was one of the first jokes I actually thought up where he does sound like a babbling toddler, but unfortunately I didn't really make it look as good as I wanted to, because I wanted to originally roto his face out and put it on like a baby, but the problem is that Windu's lightsaber is over his head, so I could never get it looking quite right, but yeah.
If you want Anakin to do something, change your wording.
Looking back at this bit, I think I made myself way too yellow in this shot. But I was quite pleased with how that sort of seamlessly put together, where it really looks like I'm chopping off Windu's arm. What have I done? Such a shame about Hayden Christensen, because I really think he can act, but you know, he just ended up in so much shit after episode 3. Post episode 3, I don't think he starred in a single movie that was certified fresh on Rotten Tomatoes. Not a single movie in like friggin' 12 years as he starred in. I had a lot of fun friggin' putting that Photoshop together. I should actually like post that to Reddit or something.
So, Anakin's the bad guy now, as he takes a bunch of soldiers and goes to murder a bunch of kids.
I mean, I know Anakin does show some dark side tendencies before, and he also does kill the Sand people, but it's crazy to think that, like, 1 second he goes from not wanting to kill friggin' the Dark Lord of the Sith because he thinks it's against the Jedi way, and it's also friggin' it's infuriating how hypocritical Anakin is, because, you know, literally earlier in the movie he friggin' beheads Dooku, you know, who was like literally didn't have unarmed. He literally was unarmed. He didn't have any hands, and he kills him. And he's like, "Oh, I shouldn't have done that. I wasn't the Jedi way." But you know, he friggin' bloody goes on to Windu, "Oh, don't kill him. It's not the Jedi way." Well, you literally killed an unarmed prisoner before, so why all of a sudden are you being the moral high ground? It's just ugh. I mean, again, this is the problem with Anakin. It's like, if it turns out he was just enjoyed being evil, and he was legitimately evil, and he got like all caught up in the dark side, and then he started using Sith lightning, and oh, I feel this power. I'm a Sith, and it feels amazing. But no, he turns to the dark side because he's a freaking idiot, and it's so infuriating. I think that's the thing in episode 3 review, that episode 3 that annoys me the most. It's just Anakin's turn to the dark side is just so poorly handled, and it's a shame because there's just so much good in this movie as well. It's like with the Return of the King as well, and episode 3, where it's where the Star Wars prequels are at their best, but it's also where it's at its worst as well because of such dumbass scenes where Anakin just freaking falls to the dark side so easily because he's an idiot. I gotta work in a dumb ways to die reference. You know, I was always thinking, like, how can you make a joke about something so horrific as Order 66, and then this is what I came up with. That was a lot of fun to edit. I found these like images of frames of mouths, and I like doing that thing where I make characters sort of talk like that. I have to sort of like remove their mouths in Photoshop and then make them look like this, like that, and then you sort of get rid of their mouth in Photoshop, and then you put like a fake mouth over there, and then you can, you know, animate it to make it look like they say anything, and it's so much fun to do that. I think I did the same thing in Return of the King, where I made Legolas sort of talk, where I'm like, Legolas, did you just try to kill a dead person? And Legolas is like, maybe. Yeah. Also, I do that thing where I just sort of make the characters' mouths move like that. But I think using like an animated mouth, I think makes it look a bit better.
Really? That's it? After 3 whole movies, that's all the reaction planning Anakin has betrayed him?
I think this is. I've not heard anybody else talk about this point I make here, where I'm like, again, like, Anakin's betrayal to Obi-Wan should have been like the most tragic scene in all of episode 3, but he's like, it can't be, I can't watch anymore, and then that's it, that's all he does, and it's just so underwhelming, I think. I mean, he has friggin' George Lucas as John Williams at his disposal, and he doesn't know how to use him, except for Order 66 and other things. Actually, one of you guys pointed out to me, like, you bashed George Lucas over the head, but in the top 10 Star Wars video I pointed out how he donated $4 billion to charity when he sold Star Wars to Disney, and now I feel awful. Another dirt face. With that, if you go back to look at the dirt face of Yoda, when I discovered that, I couldn't stop laughing at it. Yeah, that's always puzzled me, that little transition there, where Yoda's like, use your feelings, Obi-Wan, and you will find him. It's like, okay, well, what's Obi-Wan going to do? He's going to have to sort of reach out to the Force and pin him down. But no, he just frigging bloody goes, asks his bloody girlfriend. It's like, yeah, that's such a bizarre line. It sort of builds up to something, but he doesn't. I really don't. It's my most viewed video. It has over 6 million views now, that top 10 Star Wars video, but it also, like, a third of the video, the ratings on it are dislikes. And I think, like, what really irks people most about that video is where I go on about the lack of female characters in there, because, you know, with like a lot of feminists on YouTube, like, you know, the Anita Sarkeesian, for example, being the most infamous example. You know, basically, if you talk anything remotely feminist, you get like so much friggin' hate on YouTube, and I'm like, wow, it's and after that, I'm like, yeah. I mean, I saw about Anita Sarkeesian. I actually do think she had some good points, although there were things about her points I did disagree with. But what shocked me most was just like people's freaking insane reactions to it, and like giving her like death threats and rape threats and everything. And it's just freaking horrifying. And yeah, and I think like things are turning for the better. Though, you know, with like all these sexual predators being discovered in Hollywood, and where feminism is almost kind of not a bit cooler now. You know, it's a bit more in to be a feminist at the moment than it used to be. Maybe, I don't know.
Fucking crossword puzzle. This is ridiculous. Oh, and yeah, Padme doesn't believe him, of course. If only he had some proof to show her. Okay, I'm done.
Yeah, I don't know, understand why everyone just doesn't record that. I think Mr. Plinkett actually mentioned in his review where he has like a recording of Anakin killing, you know, innocent people, and they could have like showed that in the Senate, and then everyone would be like, "Oh, holy crap, Palpatine's a bad guy." Yeah. Oh, that's actually a bit. I gotta do another Thug Life bit, but I swear I'm not doing any more of those Thug Life edits. But you know, it's such a badass moment from Yoda, I had to use it. I was gonna mention something and I completely forgot what I was on about. Dang it. Again, like that line there where Padme's like, "You're breaking my heart." It's such an awful line. It's just so overly dramatic. But again, I really think Natalie Portman does do a good job. I mean, there's just literally no actor or actress alive that could friggin' deliver the line, "You're breaking my heart," and sound, you know, legitimately heartbroken. Because oh, about this friggin' bloody joke, I got so annoyed with the YouTube comments because I got so many comments of people saying Anakin's not looking at Padme, he's looking at Obi-Wan, but he's... Ugh. I got so annoyed because I got people commenting for me that over and over and over again, but if you watch the scene again, he is not looking at Obi-Wan at that particular point in the review, and it annoyed me so much. People kept pointing it out to me, and oh, I got so annoyed with that. He's not looking at Padme there. He's not looking at Obi-Wan, he is looking at Padme. It's only after that bit he finally notices Obi-Wan, so oh, that annoyed me so much. Oh, this is probably one of the silliest jokes I've ever made. There just seems to be like a thing with other reviewers where they take like DVDs and game boxes and things like that, and then they make them go alive. And I had this like great idea where I just pretend, make it look like Bob was just having a hallucination. Coruscant is a little green puppet who talks backwards versus a wrinkly old man in a bathrobe. I think that's my personal favourite line of the review. Oh, and this is a bit of Slipknot as well. I think works so well. Honestly, I want to see someone edit that so to make like have the entire Anakin Obi-Wan fight really have a Slipknot backing track to it. That'd be cool. Speaking of Slipknot, I might have a Cinema Sins coming out for Slipknot because one of you guys requested I do Wait and Bleed as a commission, but he hasn't. Apparently, I think he's like going through some financial troubles at the moment, so he can't pay me just yet. But if he does, if his situation improves, then expect a Slipknot Cinema Sins someday. So that should be fun to do. I get comments all the time with people saying, well, the reason why Yoda doesn't, you know, the whole Yoda needing a cane thing, well, if he's able to, well, apparently he's like, he uses the Force or something to sort of walk without it or something, but it's such a convoluted explanation, and it'd be so much simpler if he just got wounded in the Yoda Palpatine fight, and then throughout the prequels he never needed it. It would also explain, you know, why he goes into retirement as well, because, you know, like, they just give up. Like, there's nothing to stop Yoda and Obi-Wan from finding out where Palpatine is and gonna go assassinate him. You know, why didn't they do that? And it would explain everything if it turned out Yoda just got injured. The Episode 1 fight really is underrated. I think it's really fantastic. I love how it's just all one shot here, and notice how in the Obi-Wan Maul fight, there's no shaky cam. They have nice wide shots, and the choreography by Ray Park is just freaking phenomenal. And it's like really amazing fight, and it's so underrated. I mean, again, it had a problem with it being a little over choreographed because there wasn't much in the way of actual fighting. It was more of a dance. Well, I made the point in the episode 3 review as well. But again, the fight in episode 1 is a little bit more punchier. You feel the impacts a bit more, but they really nailed it in episode 7, I think. Yeah, you really feel that. I'm thinking like, because I have a feeling that the best lightsaber duel in Star Wars we haven't seen yet, because the original trilogy, the stakes were really high, and that was great, but the choreography was a bit lacking. But with episode 1, 2, and 3, the stakes weren't that high, and the characters were a bit meh, but the choreography was good, but it was a bit over choreographed. But I think it's the new trilogy that I think we'll find that right balance, where it will be well choreographed, but it won't be over choreographed, and where it will still feel like an actual fight. And you know, the Rey fight with Kylo Ren in episode 7 is really fantastic. And I'm just wondering, like, what will The Last Jedi have? Like, will they get Rey to fight Kylo again, or will it be Luke versus Kylo? And I kind of wonder, like, if Luke does have a lightsaber duel in episode 8, which I'm really hoping for, like, will Mark Hamill still be able to pull it off, I wonder? Because, you know, he is, like, in his 60s now, so, you know, how good can he be? But then again, Alec Guinness was, you know, that age in episode 4, and obviously, though, the episode 4 review, the episode 4 other fight was a bit lacking in terms of choreography, but, you know, that was back in the 70s, you know, back when they didn't realize Star Wars was going to be huge, so... Oh, I got so many comments of people saying, oh, it's not a big deal that Anakin's lightsaber's passed on like that, because it's less to do with what the lightsaber did, it's more to do with the wielder. But I got so many comments of people saying it wasn't a big deal, but I don't know, just if I got gifted like a gun and I found out that it had been like used in a mass shooting or something like that, I'm like, that is going straight in the bin. Or rather, it should be given to the police as evidence or whatever, but oof, that'd be horrifying to me. When I made that, I'm surprised no one has ever mentioned that TV show that Hayden Christensen had starred in. Actually, when you guys posted that image to Reddit, like after my episode 3 review, and I saw that post, and I'm like, oh, somebody's seen my episode 3 review. I like doing that where I sort of overlay my voice onto each other to create that sort of weird, scary effect. I like doing that. I made the same reference in my top 5 Star Wars video for the Star Wars spin-offs, but I had to do it. It was my brother actually who had the idea of doing the joke. He edited it together, and then I sort of took the idea and then I edited it a bit better than he did. So thanks to my brother for that. That was actually the last joke I wrote in the review for that little bit where I said, and lo and behold, the on time where Hayden Christensen was on fire. And I think the joke itself wasn't that great, but I think what was added to it was just Boss Nass going, ha! This just cracked me up. I want to maybe I can make that a running gag of Boss Nass going, ha! When I make like a bad joke and then he reacts to it. Because I'm not usually a big fan of making like jokes that are intentionally bad. Because a lot of YouTubers do that, where they make like a bad pun, and then the joke is that it's a bad joke. I really hate it when YouTubers do that, so I try to avoid it as much as I can. Ooh, I should probably maybe I should try and like avoid being a bit too political in these reviews. You can't resist sometimes. But yeah, I think I'll avoid that in the future. It really is a fantastic sequence, I think. They just ruined it with Vader going, no. Oh yeah, this is a hotly contested thing where a lot of people say, oh well, the reason why Leia does remember her mother rather is because she was under the impression that her adoptive mother was her real mother. But if that is the case, then that makes that entire scene in episode 6 really pointless, because the whole point of the sequence is Luke trying to find out about his mother. So if it turned out that Leia was just talking about someone who wasn't Luke's mother, then that ruins the whole point of the scene. So, and I think George Lucas himself has stated that Leia was actually talking about Padme in that scene. So, ha! This was I think the fan favorite joke in this. It was actually one of the first jokes I've ever written. Like, I had this idea, like, what if Vader's chair just malfunctioned? It's always the best thing where you take such epic scenes and then you just, like, fuck around with them. The cloak actually is that I'm wearing. It's actually my mum's. It's she used to like wear a lot of like gothic sort of style clothing like a few years ago. She doesn't anymore, but she still had the cloak, and I'm like, yo, mum, can I use this for my episode 3? And she's like, yeah. There's actually that My Gimp Apprentice joke, is this kind of similar to a joke Nostalgia Critic did in his Short Circuit review, where he used it when he said, "Racist Indian guy will be right back." This made me crack up even when I was editing it, just like them just sort of standing there in silence. I just love playing Palpatine. Maybe I should try and make, like, I made Bob a recurring character. I should probably just make Palpatine a recurring character as well. Because he's just so much fun to play. Just that voice is just so fun to do. Vader as well, I can actually surprisingly get down pretty well, because what you do is you try and sound like Vader as much as you can, and then what you do is you just lower the pitch in editing, add a reverb to it, and then you sound pretty close to Vader. Yes. But only barely, I think. I think it's such a shame about Jake Lloyd, just the hate he got, because he was such a young kid as well, and then he got like so much hate, and like that must have really screwed him up. That. Although there is Jar Jar though in it as well, so it still had pretty dreadful CGI. I really do think episode 1 gets too much hate. I mean, episode 3 does still have its funny moments, though, I think. Like, there's a bit where a super battle droid encounters R2 and then he kicks him over. I remember watching that scene in the cinema, and then everyone started bursting out laughing at that little bit. That was really funny. But, you know, like, you got lines like, another happy landing. And then the whole, like, actually, it could have been a lot worse, because if you go watch the deleted scenes for Star Wars Episode 3, they have like more jokes they filmed, and there's some really, really bad jokes. Like, there's this bit where Anakin makes this joke about interpreting Anakin's beeps, and he's like, I'm quite sure beep means up, and it's just like, it's the most cringe inducing joke ever, and I'm like, oh, thank God they cut that. And also there's this bit where they come across the Jedi Shark T, and then Grievous kills her like right in front of them, and then like they're mad about it, but immediately, like right after, they start making jokes about it, where they do this thing where Obi-Wan sort of twirls his mustache to sort of like send a signal to Anakin, and they're making a joke about it. And I'm like, you just saw a Jedi, your fellow comrade, be killed right in front of you. Why are you making a joke right now? It's so, yeah, episode 3 could have been a lot worse. But I mean, it still shows. I still think it clashes a bit with the jokes, because it's like the most comedy is found in episode 3. Like the opening act is like some big comedic routine, but then Anakin freaking beheads Dooku, and then you got all the other horrific shit that happens in Star Wars episode 3, and it just doesn't meld very well, I don't think. Yeah, I think I got his name pronounced wrong. I think it's like Ian McDiarmid, I think, or something like that. But I think I knew actually how to pronounce it before, but it was kind of hard to say. You see what I mean? McDiarmid. It's something like that. And I'm like, you know what? I can't be bothered. I'll just pronounce it like that. Yeah, the Jedi spread across the galaxy. It's amazing how they just filmed that, and I'm like, you know what, Hayden, I think we need to go for a second take on that line. Because I really do think that George just wanted to get home. I think that's a big reason why he sold Star Wars. You know, by the time that he was filming the prequels, he just had enough with it. Love can't save you, Padme. Only my new powers can do that. Like George Lucas, I think, is a good director, maybe, but as a scriptwriter, no. Speaking of, I'm just like saw myself in front of my wall, which is sort of like just right over there. I think what I need a lot is those like foam things to put on the wall to help dampen the sound. Hopefully that should make the review sound a bit better, because it still gets a bit echoey in here. A lot of flat walls and not nearly enough foam and edges. Actually, I was going back and forth before this. I'm like, maybe I actually do like episode 1 more. But then I started thinking about it, and I'm like, no, episode 3 is better. But I was going back and forth a bit. Oh, this was funny actually. I do this little thing where I pull Palpatine up, and then I get like my video, and then I like get to 2,000 likes, and then I said, Palpatine, do it. And what was crazy about it was that I ended up with like 6,000 likes or something like that. And I'm like, wow, Palpatine is surprisingly frigging convincing. So that worked well. I mean, I think basically on YouTube, it's just that if you ask for likes, then that reminds people to like your video, and then you end up getting said likes. But I really don't like doing that, because it sounds a bit too needy. Although I did do it there, but I was doing something kind of clever with it. Oh, this was my brother made this thing about it, but I mean, it's just you finish the credits in the episode 3 review, and then all of a sudden you see Teletubbies playing, and that a lot of people must have been like, what the hell? So yeah, I think that might have been a bit random at the end, but you know, I think it was pretty funny having Latu saying that at the end. Okay, so yeah, that's the episode 3 review. I do think it turned out pretty well, and I think I will try to make this like the last of the long reviews. I do want to make more reviews that maybe around about the 20 to 30 minute mark instead, just so I can actually get more done. But you know, with episode 3, there was just so much to friggin' talk about, and it's a pretty long movie as well. So yeah, thank you all for watching. Forgive me if I was seem rambling, because again, still pretty new at these. New reviews are in the works. Next review, I'm thinking of doing Mighty Ducks next. Originally I wanted to do Tim Allen's Santa Claus for this Christmas, but I'm pretty sure I won't have time to do it because I'm actually going to Paris for this Christmas on holiday, and I'm looking forward to that. But yeah, there's simply not enough time, and it really sucks. But I got new mashups in the works as well, and I may be able to get a review out for the new South Park game as well. I haven't started playing it yet, but if I have time, that might be coming out as well before Christmas as well. Maybe we'll have to see how things go. And then after I get my Mighty Ducks review done, or whatever I decide to do next, I may decide to do that, I may not. I'll do another viewer poll, and then you guys can have your say on what I do next. And I should imagine the top two things that you guys will want me to do might be Rogue One, because that'll be my next Star Wars movie review, or whether I should actually finally get started with the MCU movies, because my most requested review is probably Spider-Man Homecoming, but I've got all the other MCU movies to do first, and that's going to take like a million years to get through all those, and I'm going to have to start sooner or later, so Iron Man will be the first one. So it depends if you guys want to see that, or you want me to continue with the Star Wars reviews. But yeah, the next review will be something of my own choice, and I want to do something a bit more kid orientated, like Mighty Ducks. I think that'd be super fun to do. You know, kind of similar in the vein to Stuart Little. It's just another one of those kid movies, and I think they're a bit more easier to make fun and make jokes about. So yeah, that should be pretty fun to do. So yeah, thank you ever so much for watching, guys, and I shall see you guys in the next one. Peace out.